Welcome to Deep Thought. The best sermon is an example. You know what? I'm going to tell you what. And this was inspired because, every now and then I definitely get trolls. And I had someone I blocked recently who was on some low-key troll stuff anyway, sent me a message, right? Send me a message through my contact form. And they were trying to tell me what I should be doing. And I actually responded, but found out it was a fake email. I was like, okay, fine. But it inspired me because I thought about something. Because every now and then on some videos, you get some troll or something, or it's trying to say, well, you should be doing this, or they trying to tell you something, or they ain't like how it was presented, something like that, right? And I was just like, okay. But then I would hit, I click on this stuff and look for examples that they're presenting. And if I don't see it, which I usually don't, I just delete the comment or something, even block the person, right? And my thing is this. If you're going to tell someone something, if you're going to say they should be doing this, at the very least, you need to show in your own life how you're doing it. It's like a homeless person trying to tell somebody how to work and get a home and everything, or how to make money, or a broke person trying to tell somebody 9 to 5, trying to tell a millionaire something, right? Or trying to give any advice. Like, I'm going to tell you something. Anything I say on here is something I can demonstrate in my own life. Now, y'all notice I have never told anybody on any of my channels, even my business channel, how to make $1 million. Now, I can tell you how to be comfortable and make more money than average, right? And how to, at least have a business where it can pay your bills. But that's all I can do because I can show it in my own life, right? And and that's the thing. If you're going to tell somebody something, be an example. It's like it was said of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, right? He used the example of a clean glass of water and a dirty glass of water. You automatically drink from the clean glass of water. And ministers have always said the best sermon is an example. Show it in your life. In fact, that goes back to all the holy men, regardless of your spiritual path. Because the thing is any religion was not supposed to be a doctrine. What's supposed to happen is the holy men, right, showed that they were able to evolve in their own life and to show you a way of living, right? And the real example is not whatever they said, but how they live their lives, right? Like if people like you have, like in Christianity, that's, a lot of Christians follow this channel, or people at least familiar with it who have been Christian follow this channel. The best example of Jesus is not his parables, or is not that he raised the dead, or any of his miracles. Though for the people who are into more esoteric stuff, you can argue that you should be doing that anyway, if that's what he was doing. But just the example of how he lived. And what he said his greatest commandment was, treat others as you would have them treat you. He showed in his behavior, right? That was his real sermon. His real sermon wasn't like the Sermon on the Mount. It was like, how did he live? Right? If you look at Muhammad, how did he live? Right? How did Buddha live? Right? Any holy man in any system, how did they live? How did Confucius live? That's not a real spiritual system, more of an ethical system, but how did he live? Right? Like a lot of these ministers and holy people who are doing stuff, they don't realize that they're breaking they really contradicting their own words. They'll say, hey, you should do this, you should do that, yet behind closed doors they engaged in every vice and they doing some foul stuff, right? That's not a good example. Because see, ultimately, people watch what you do, right? I'm gonna tell you what. Like, I'm known for writing about relationship and telling men how to get women, right? I didn't do that if I didn't, I didn't start out thinking I wanted to do that. I used to have men and women ask me. It was like, well, Rom, how you do this? Teach me. Teach me, right? Like, I remember one time I was near my building where I was living in D.C. at the time, right? And I was walking out and I had a conversation with this, I was talking with this very attractive young lady, right? So we're talking and everything, and then she went about her way. But observing the conversation was this gentleman who, he had some car trouble, so he was on the side of the road. I think he was waiting for a tow truck or something. He saw me, and I didn't say anything to him, but he invited me to a party because he looked at the woman I was talking to, right? So I ain't had to say anything. So he just went off of that example. Or other times, I've never had to tell someone I was a good worker. I really don't, right? And I talked about my work ethic, but I've had people, they see what I was doing and it was like, okay, let me give Rom this or give Rom that, right? They see what I was doing, right? And that's in anything in life. Like, if you got something and you want to tell somebody else how to live or what they should be doing, show it in your own life first. I remember what this teacher told me. I'll never forget what this teacher told me, right? It was back in, it was on a summer job. He was like a trainer. My job was to help train younger people on good work habits and stuff, right? And he was talking about Michael Jordan. And this is when Michael Jordan was still in college. And he said, Michael Jordan doesn't have to tell anybody he's a good basketball player. He just shows it. He can just step on the court. You see it right there, right? And like, you have a lot of people, they want to say stuff, but talk is cheap. Talk is cheap. Even with myself. Don't watch the example. When people see me in public, they'll say, "Oh, we see it." Okay. We see it. So they get it. They see the example. When the way I carry myself and everything. Right. So if you want to show it, don't be, understand something, because that the image says a lot. If you want to get your point across, people are always going to watch your behavior. I'm very conscious of what I do around my sons. Right. They've never seen their father drink or smoke a cigarette, but you set that example. In fact, I remember I talked about that during I did a speech at a church one time, and I talked about my grandfather, my step grandfather, who I used to watch the example of how he kept his clothes straight. How he straightened himself up, because I was talking about the importance of fathers, right? But he didn't say a word. Grandfather, he didn't say a word. Yet, because I followed the sermon that he was given visually, I'm the type, I can work an iron. I will buy new irons. I would constantly upgrade the irons and stuff, right? Because he used to keep a crease in his pants, and he never once told me to keep a crease in my pants. He never once said to me, "Hey, you need to iron your shirts like this." And he never talked to me about ironing and stuff. Never. But the sermon and the image that he set just by what he was doing. And he saw me watching him. He didn't say anything. He didn't say, "Hey, you need to do it like this." He just sat up there, kept a stern face, while he was doing. But he knew I was watching him, right? So he set an example that 50 years later, literally 50 years later, I still follow. Because when he was doing all this, I was like 5 years old, right? And I still follow it to this day. So the best sermon, you want to tell somebody something, or you want to convey a message, they need to see it in your actions, right? So anyway, that's all I have for today. I'll talk to you later. Peace and blessings.